Hi, I'm Fran and I'm Head of Operations for Bridging at West One Loans.
And I'm Matt, one of the Business Development Managers at West One Loans, covering bridging and development finance.
We're here to talk to you about how the relationship between underwriting and sales at West One works. So can you go through what it is that you look at when you're assessing a deal when it comes over to you as a new inquiry?
Yeah, sure. So I think from a sales perspective, we need to make sure we're understanding any nuances, any quirks about the deal, really just so that whatever there's been agreed by the sales team at the front end, we know we'll have the support of underwriting and credit if the application goes ahead. And it saves your team wasting time reviewing applications that we're not going to be able to complete on. From a sales side of things, it's important to understand the security, borrower profile, and ultimately the exit of the loan. They're probably the key 3 points with any deal. And then any kind of quirks or nuances that are specific to that individual case. So Fran, tell me a bit about how important it is for sales to really understand the deal at the front end before presenting it to underwriting in your team.
Yeah, so I think it's really important. I think firstly you guys are going out and selling West One as a company to brokers and introducers and direct borrowers, and I think you can't do that if you don't really understand what we do or our cases, and I think our sales team are great at understanding what we will lend on, what we won't lend on, and pricing deals. And I think just to counteract that if you didn't know what we did or the importance of knowing what was going on from the outset, you'd be pricing deals at the wrong level, not winning business, and probably winning business that might ultimately be something that we don't want to do. You might be selling deals on securities that we don't lend on, so I think it's also about brokers having confidence in you knowing what you will and won't do as a lender.
Yeah, I think ultimately the sales team at the front end knowing the underlying credit policy and appetite rather than just frontline loan to value and rate criteria really allows us to convert more cases when they do come in and provides a better experience for the broker and the client. Yeah,
I think that goes to show why our conversion rate is better than probably anyone else in the industry, because our sales team are so good and know what it is that we want to do, where our appetite is, and can get the cases in and get them through into underwriting and completed quicker than anybody else.
Yeah. So Fran, can you just talk to us a bit about how the underwriting team work once a case goes from sales into underwriting?
Yeah, so initially it comes obviously over from your internal guys and it comes over to me, and I look at all of the deals just to make sure I can get the best underwriter on it and the most experienced in that sort of field. If it's a large loan, we have a particular team that deal with it. If it's a bit more straightforward, a bit lower loan to value, we may have one of the other guys that deal with it. Then we will do sort of all the usuals. We'll instruct evaluation, we'll instruct legals. Our legals, obviously, as you know, don't usually request an undertaking unless it's exceptionally complex transaction, but majority of our cases don't have an undertaking, which is great for borrowers. If the case doesn't proceed, then there's no legal fee to be paid.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think that point around the no undertaking from the lawyers, as far as the sales team are aware, it's a unique point for West One within the industry. There's not any other lender that offers legal work without an undertaking.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of our USPs. There may be one or two that work without an undertaking, but not many at all. I know a lot of lawyers are not going to undertake a large amount of legal work without a guarantee for their fees on it. So they really get to work in the background doing all of the property inquiries and things. If it's a simple transaction, they keep it very simple, ask minimal questions, and then really it's all down to valuation. We're obviously an asset lender, and if it's low LTV, we'll can sometimes do an ABM, but majority of the time we do have a valuation. Our valuers are very quick, and as soon as the valuation and all the legals are satisfied, we will get it through to risk. We've got a great risk team who have years of experience in the industry, have seen pretty much every scenario you could come across, and are looking to make sure that we're lending within policy, but we also have in underwriting the autonomy to take a view on some things outside of policy. We can make an exception if the deal makes sense. And then after risk are happy, we will send it around for credit sign off so that we can get funds sent on it. So it can be quite quick, as 2-3 days to completion. some purchases due to chains take a bit longer, but as long as the borrower and the borrower's lawyer are ready to go, we can complete really as quickly as they'd like to.
Yeah, perfect. And I think that autonomy that you mentioned there as well is something that allows us to make commercial decisions on deals, and it goes back to the questions the sales team are asking at the front end around the security, the borrower profile and the exit route, and they're kind of the three key points. So if a borrower's got a really strong A&L behind them, for example, you may be able to push the boundaries in terms of loan to value or risk appetite on a particular deal.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's all about knowing the picture of the borrower, and if you know a lot about them, they've got a large portfolio, then you might be willing to push the boundaries further than you would for someone that you don't know quite so well.
Sure, that makes sense.
So how important do you think it is that underwriting and sales have a good working relationship, and how do you think that impacts the broker and customer outcome?
Yeah, I think it's really important for sales and underwriting to have a strong working relationship and open lines of communication, because it then means that the cases and loan inquiries that sales are agreeing at the front end will be fully supported when the application comes in at the back end. If sales don't understand the risk policy of the business and the credit appetite of the business, then we'll end up agreeing cases that ultimately will never get through to completion. And both brokers and their clients will have a negative experience with using West One. It will put people off. My experience in the time I've been here has actually been that the underwriting team are extremely approachable, and it's easy for the sales guys or girls to discuss a new inquiry or a particular quirk with the deal prior to issuing terms to a broker. So almost getting that initial underwriting buy-in that we're prepared to lend and complete on that loan. It gives brokers and their clients reassurance that if we're agreeing something at the front end, then subject to a good valuation and the legal due diligence, then the terms agreed at the front end won't change, and that will be what gets completed on the back end of the transaction.
I think it's also good that you, as salespeople, feel you can call underwriting and we can all have a conversation and try and problem solve on cases and try and find a way to restructure things should we need to. Yeah,
and a really good example of that is a case that we completed last year where the borrower had been let down by their mortgage lender at the last minute for a purchase. The mortgage lender's lawyers, fairly late in the day, had found a restriction on the title. It was actually a case I dealt with myself and spoke with one of your team. Turned out that actually we'd already lent on that property through another product division within the business, so we knew about the restriction, we were comfortable with that restriction. We agreed the terms on the Friday. The loan application was received on the Monday and the case completed the following Friday. And that's a really good example of having those open lines of communication, knowing that we'd already lent on the security and actually helped us turn the case around in time, preempted any potential issues when it did get through to legals. And again, because we were familiar with the asset, we were able to work with no valuation on that particular case.
I do remember that case well, and I remember when it came in and I looked at who to allocate it to in underwriting. I discussed it with risk and spoke to the property team about it, so that we could get comfortable quite quickly. So that was a fast completion, wasn't it?
Yeah, really quick. Sort of three or 4 days from application into funds release. I think we completed the following day after the release of funds.
Yeah, I think that really we used everyone's expertise within the team to get everyone on board and get it completed.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for listening to episode 5 of West 101. If you've got any questions or inquiries, please get in touch.